Now in September of 1862, the Confederates will launch their first invasion of the North. This is actually part of a Confederate frontal assault, Confederate offensive ranging nearly 1,000 miles, stretching from Maryland to Mississippi. But here in Maryland, the Confederate Army of Robert E. Lee, the Army of Northern Virginia, will for the first time tread on northern soil, coming into Maryland on September the 4th, 1862. Lee, on that day, will send a letter to the President of the Confederacy, Jefferson Davis, and state, Mr. President, and I paraphrase, Mr. President, I want to carry this war, I want to carry this army north into Pennsylvania. Now let me stress, Pennsylvania is the objective. Pennsylvania is where Lee wants to take the army.
What I've done is, and I think what every good historian must do, is constantly evaluate position. Constantly ask themselves, is this right? Is this correct? Do I really believe this? What is the evidence that I've been using to back this up? And challenge oneself. Constantly ask oneself to evolve and not be afraid to change position. So this book, in many respects, I changed position. And I do that not because I've suddenly had some love fest with George McClellan, but because I've discovered evidence that's counter to what I previously believed and what I previously preached. And so I'm not going to ignore the evidence. I'm not going to throw it away and say, how can I not accept this? I've been wrong. So have so many others. And so the whole premise of the book is don't be afraid to challenge a historian. Historians very much pick and choose what facts they wish to present or what stories they wish to tell. Every piece of history is prejudiced by the historian.
With a narrative, seeking a narrative.
And so there's a lot of prejudice and ill will against McClellan. And so the three authors that you mentioned, Francis Palfrey, writing in the 1880s, James Murfin, whose book Gleam of Bayonets was published during the centennial, and then Stephen Sears, whose book came out in the early 1980s, all share what I call the firm. I refer to it in the book as the firm. Palfrey, Murfin, and Sears, the firm, and the perspective of the firm, the opinion, and this is very important, the opinion of the firm is that McClellan screwed up time and again. It's a hackneyed version of George McClellan, always delaying, never moving, even having information presented to him that he does not make good use of. And as a result, he doesn't end the war. He doesn't truly win the Battle of Antietam. He doesn't destroy Lee. This is the position of the firm. And that's the position of the typical American public, that McClellan was an absolute failure. McClellan had failings, but I argue in the book that so many of the failures that he's presented as are not actual.
I want to make sure you understand. General Lee didn't come here, put his finger on the map, point out the Antietam Creek and say, I intend to fight here. No, no, no. This is pure happenstance. It's completely because of confrontation of two moving armies that just happen to move and lodge against each other right here. And so this was not planned. In fact, you see that mountain off in the distance, way out there? Way out there? That is, as Gary pointed out, South Mountain. That's almost Pennsylvania. And that's where Lee's going. We were going to Pennsylvania. Maryland was just a pass-through. We're going to Pennsylvania.